Within the SolidWorks search bar is an option for files and models, and this can allow you to search out any files for SolidWorks that you work with. Now by default, if you search out a file, typically you aren't going to find it, and the reason for that is that the search path hasn't been indexed. Within the options, if you go into File Locations and Search Paths, if you want to be able to search a certain folder, or you have all of your SolidWorks files in a certain folder, you'll want to add in that file or file folder so that you can use this search to find those parts. You can also do this from the indexing options of Windows just by typing in index. And I have mine set up to index right now as I'm adding in a specific folder. But you can choose a specific index location if you have all your files in there, and you can choose to rebuild the index and set up that search path, and SolidWorks will be able to find out those files. So now that I added the intro folder, I can see that it finds those files in the introduction folder. It also looks in anything underneath that folder, in the introduction complete, for example. So as long as you set up your top level folder for the search, it's going to search out the rest of the folders that are underneath it. Along with the search options, this search also has something called dissection. So if I go into the programs and find my SolidWorks folder and find the task scheduler, I can choose to dissect out parts, and what that means is that each of the features in the part are going to be available for me to drag and drop into subsequent parts. So in this case, I have a cutout feature in this intro plate complete that I want to bring into this part. So I can choose to dissect out these files and go ahead and do that right now. And I should be able to look at those dissected parts once this is completed. There's also an option in the system options in search to set up a time to dissect out those files. So if you have features that you reuse fairly frequently, you can set up the dissection, or you can add those to the design library. But if you choose the dissection option, once you search out those parts, you'll be able to simply drag and drop in features. Depending on the size of your file folders, it may take a while to dissect. I paused while that went through the dissection process. Now if I click on this intro plate complete, I have this option to view in search results, and I can see that secondary feature that I wanted to add. I can now drag and drop into this part. So you can see that can be relatively useful for reusing geometry from other parts. But if you're not going to end up doing that, you may want to turn the dissection off, because once again it does take a bit of time to do that and processing power to do that. But that's how you set up your search paths as well as that dissection process.